Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a time in every life when the burdens feel too heavy, the days too long, and the path ahead shrouded in uncertainty. In these moments, when our strength falters and our hearts grow weary, we must remember that renewal is not found in striving harder, but in surrendering deeper. It is in these times that we whisper the prayer, "Renew my soul, Lord." Renew my soul, Lord. Faith is the bridge that carries us over the turbulent waters of life, a connection that allows the finite to touch the infinite. It is not something we muster from within ourselves as if by sheer willpower, but rather it is the realization of an already present truth, the unbreakable union between the Creator and his creation, the captivating closeness of the unity, the unbreakable union between the Creator and his creation. Faith, when truly understood, is the recognition that renewal, strength, and transformation do not originate from the self, but from the divine source that lives within us. To have faith is to awaken to this truth and allow it to flow through every fiber of our being. When we are weary, it is easy to look outward, searching for solutions in the material world. Yet the external can never truly satisfy the soul. Our efforts, no matter how earnest, will always fall short if we rely solely on them. Faith calls us inward to the sacred space where God resides, to remember that we are never alone. It is in this stillness, in this quiet communion with the divine, that renewal becomes possible. Faith is not passive, it is a dynamic force that transforms our understanding of who we are and what we are capable of. Imagine for a moment the eagle soaring effortlessly on the wind. It does not fight against the currents, but instead trusts in their strength to carry it higher. This is the essence of faith. To align ourselves with God's power is to release the need for control, to stop struggling against the inevitable challenges of life, and to trust that we will be lifted up. This trust is not blind, but deeply intuitive, rooted in the assurance that God's strength is made perfect in our weakness. The eagle does not question the wind. It simply spreads its wings and rises. Many believe that faith is something they must earn or achieve, but this is a misunderstanding. Faith is not about doing, it is about being. It is the simple yet profound act of accepting that we are already connected to the divine. In moments of doubt or despair, we may feel distant from God, but this is an illusion. The connection is unbreakable, and the power that flows from it is always available. The fare that flows from it is always available. To access this power, we must quiet the noise of the mind, the doubts and fears that cloud our vision, and instead turn our attention inward, one mind out of 1,000. The renewal of the soul begins when we release the weight of our burdens and place them in God's hands. This act of surrender is not an admission of defeat, but an acknowledgement of divine sovereignty. It is saying, "I trust you to guide me, to strengthen me, and to renew me." In that trust, we find freedom. Not freedom from challenges, but freedom from the need to face them alone. This is the essence of faith, the understanding that we are never alone, and that God's strength is always sufficient. Consider the trials you face, the moments when you feel as though you have reached your limit. What if these moments are not meant to break you, but to lead you deeper into faith? Each challenge is an invitation to trust more fully, to lean into the divine instead of relying on your own strength. When we embrace this perspective, we begin to see our struggles not as obstacles, but as opportunities. Faith reframes our understanding of life, transforming even the darkest moments into stepping stones toward greater light. The world often tells us that strength comes from self-reliance, but faith teaches the opposite. True strength comes from reliance on God. It is not found in striving, but in abiding. When we allow faith to guide us, we discover a reservoir of strength that we did not know we possessed. This strength is not ours alone. It is the divine power working through us, renewing us moment by moment. It is a quiet yet unshakable assurance that no matter what we face, we are upheld by a love that is infinite and unending. And 21, spiritual. Faith does not remove life's difficulties, but it transforms our experience of them. It gives us the courage to face what we must, the wisdom to see God's hand at work, and the peace to rest in his promises. To have faith is to walk forward, even when the path is unclear, trusting that each step will be guided. It is to release the need for certainty and to embrace the mystery of God's plan. In doing so, we find that our souls are not only renewed, but also strengthened, prepared for whatever lies ahead. And this is indeed the great purpose of this formidable text. The Havana, the Gospel, began more than 1100 years ago. In the end, faith is the ultimate act of alignment. It is the choice to align our thoughts, feelings, and actions with the truth of who we are as children of God. It is the decision to live not from a place of fear, but from a place of trust. And in that trust, we find renewal, not just for a moment, but for a lifetime. Faith is the key that unlocks the door to a life of purpose, peace, and power. Through it, we discover that the strength we seek has always been within us, waiting to be awakened. Surrendering to the divine is not an act of giving up. It is the ultimate recognition of where true power resides. The human mind, in its endless striving, often becomes entangled in a web of doubts, fears, and overcomplications. We try to hold on to control, believing that our will alone is sufficient to navigate the trials of life. Yet in this clinging we exhaust ourselves. Strength is not found in resistance, but in release, in trusting the invisible hand that has always guided us. Strength is not found in resistance, but in release, in trusting the invisible hand that has always guided us. This surrender is not a defeat, but a liberation, a return to the truth that God's plan is infinitely greater than anything we could devise. End of preface. Second and third pages of Book 109. Imagine a river that flows effortlessly toward the sea. It does not strain or struggle to find its way. It simply yields to the natural currents that guide it. This is the essence of surrender. When we release the need to control every detail of our lives, we align ourselves with the divine flow, a current far more powerful and purposeful than we can comprehend. To surrender is to say, I trust you, Lord, to lead me where I need to go. In this trust, we discover a profound sense of peace, even amidst life's uncertainties. And this is transference, which is the basis of the thoughts. Many resist the idea of surrender because it feels like weakness. They fear losing their autonomy, their ability to shape their destiny. But surrender is not the abandonment of responsibility. It is the redirection of it. It is the understanding that our role is not to orchestrate every outcome, but to align our will with God's. In this alignment, we find strength, not the fragile strength of the ego, but the unshakable strength of the divine working through us. To surrender is to step into a partnership with God, allowing His wisdom and power to guide our lives. There is a profound irony in surrender. The moment we let go is the moment we gain everything. When we release our grip on the need to control, we create space for God's blessings to flow into our lives. These blessings often come in ways we could never have imagined, for God's vision is far greater than ours. In surrendering, we open ourselves to possibilities that transcend our limited understanding. We begin to see that what we once viewed as obstacles were, in fact, opportunities for growth and transformation. The act of surrender is deeply intertwined with trust. To trust God is to believe that His plans for us are good, even when we cannot see the full picture. It is to rest in the assurance that He is always working for our highest good. Trust does not mean we will never face difficulties. It means we can face them with confidence, knowing that God is with us every step of the way. This trust is not blind, but rooted in the countless ways He has been faithful in the past. It is the recognition that His love for us is unchanging and His power limitless. And when we realize that, then we realize that there is definitely nothing we cannot overcome. When we surrender and trust, we begin to experience the renewal of our souls. This renewal is not a one-time event, but an ongoing process. It is the daily decision to let go of our fears, doubts, and need for control, and to place our lives in God's hands. In this daily surrender, we find that our burdens are lifted, our strength is renewed, and our perspective transformed. We begin to see life not as something to be conquered, but as a journey to be embraced, guided by the loving hand of God. Consider the story of a person walking through a dense fog. They cannot see the path ahead, but know they must keep moving. With each step, the way becomes clearer, and they begin to trust that the path will unfold as they go. This is what it means to surrender to God's will. We may not always see the full picture, but we can trust that He does. Each step of faith reveals a little more of the path, and in time we come to see the beauty of His plan. Surrendering to God's will also means embracing the unknown. The human mind craves certainty, but faith calls us to step into the mystery of God's plan. This can be uncomfortable, even frightening, but it is also where the greatest growth occurs. In the unknown, we are forced to rely not on our understanding, but on God's. And it is here, in this place of trust and surrender, that we find our greatest strength, consistently that we find our greatest strength. We discover that we are not alone, that we are held by a love that will never let us go. This act of surrender is not something we do once and forget. It is a practice, a way of being. Each day presents new opportunities to let go, to trust, and to align ourselves with God's will. Some days this may feel effortless, while on others it may be a struggle. But each time we choose to surrender, we grow stronger in our faith. We begin to see that surrender is not an act of weakness, but of courage. It is the courage to believe that God's plans for us are far greater than anything we could imagine. As we surrender, we come to understand that true strength is not about holding on, but about letting go. It is not about forcing outcomes, but about trusting in the divine timing of all things. And in this trust, we find a peace that surpasses understanding. we find that our souls are renewed, our strength restored, and our lives transformed. Through surrender, we are not diminished, but elevated, not weakened, but empowered. We become vessels of God's love and grace, flowing freely in alignment with His perfect will. The principality within, the principality is out. The power of faith transcends the boundaries of reason, for it operates in a realm untouched by doubt or fear. Faith is not merely a belief in something unseen. It is the assurance that what is hoped for already exists in the unseen reality. When we place our faith in God, we tap into an infinite reservoir of possibilities, and through this trust, we become co-creators of our destiny. This change is always in the spirit, and we bring forth already an infinite reservoir of possibilities. When the world often encourages us to rely solely on logic and evidence, yet the true transformation of life arises from a deeper knowing, a knowing rooted in the conviction that God's promises are certain. This conviction is based in a knowing that God's promises are certain, and the commitment is based in a belief in God, a belief which comes from faith is not a passive state of waiting, but an active engagement with the unseen. It requires us to align our thoughts, feelings, and actions with the reality we desire to experience. This alignment is not achieved through effort or struggle, but through surrender. To have faith in God is to let go of our limited understanding and trust in His infinite wisdom. It is the quiet confidence that, even in the face of uncertainty, His plan is unfolding perfectly, which is replacing an existing and corroding a narrative that isn't real. By faith in God is to unfolding perfectly. This trust is not blind. It is born from a deep connection with the divine, a connection that reassures us that we are held, guided, and loved. In cultivating faith, we often encounter resistance. Doubts arise, and fear whispers that the impossible cannot become possible. But faith is not the absence of doubt. It is the decision to believe in spite of it. Each moment we choose faith over fear, we strengthen our connection to God and align ourselves with His will. This alignment is the key to manifesting our desires, for when our faith is steadfast, the impossible becomes inevitable. The mountains that once seemed insurmountable begin to move, not through our efforts, but through the power of God working in and through us. To live by faith is to live with the expectation that all things are possible. This expectation is not born from wishful thinking, but from a deep knowing that God is faithful. When we approach life with this certainty, we begin to see evidence of His promises everywhere. What once appeared as obstacles now reveal themselves as opportunities for growth and transformation. We realize that every challenge we face is an invitation to deepen our faith and to trust more fully in God's plan. Faith also requires patience, for God's timing often differs from our own. The human mind craves immediacy, yet the divine operates in the fullness of time. To trust in God's timing is to release the need for control and to rest in the assurance that all things are working together for our good. This patience is not passive, but active. It is the willingness to wait with expectation, knowing that what we have asked for is already ours. As we wait, our faith grows, and we become vessels through which God's will is manifested on earth. Consider the image of a seed planted in the ground. At first, it seems as though nothing is happening. Days, weeks, or even months may pass without visible progress. But beneath the surface, a miracle is unfolding. Roots are forming, and the seed is preparing to break through the soil. Faith is much like this process. Even when we cannot see the evidence of God's work, we trust that it is happening. God's transformation. And in time, the fruits of our faith become evident, not because we forced them into being, but because we trusted in the divine process. In short, religion invokes the American version of faith discovering itself in the great self and says, this is what makes us real. It will never be Jesus. This is not the real religion. Living by faith transforms not only our circumstances, but also our perception of reality. It allows us to see beyond the limitations of the physical world and to recognize the spiritual truths that underpin all existence. Through faith, we come to understand that we are not separate from God, but are expressions of His love and power. This understanding shifts our perspective, enabling us to approach life with a sense of wonder, gratitude, and purpose. We begin to see ourselves not as victims of circumstance, but as co-creators of our reality, working in partnership with the divine. Faith also requires a willingness to let go of the old, to make way for the new. This letting go can be challenging, for it often involves releasing habits, beliefs, or relationships that no longer serve us. Yet, in this release, we create space for God's blessings to flow into our lives. Faith invites us to step into the unknown, trusting that God's plan is far greater than anything we could imagine. And as we take that step, we find that we are supported in ways we could never have anticipated. Through faith, we discover the true nature of abundance. We realize that abundance is not something we acquire, but something we align with. It is the natural state of being when we live in harmony with God's will. This abundance is not limited to material wealth, but encompasses every aspect of life: love, joy, peace, and fulfillment. When we trust in God, we open ourselves to the fullness of His blessings, and our lives become a reflection of His infinite goodness. In moments of doubt or struggle, it is faith that sustains us. It reminds us that we are never alone, that God is always with us, guiding us through every challenge and triumph. Faith is the anchor that holds us steady in the storms of life, and the light that leads us through the darkness. It is the assurance that no matter what we face, God's love is unchanging, His power is limitless, and His promises are sure. Through faith we find the strength to persevere, the courage to dream, and the joy of knowing that we are deeply loved and divinely guided. The renewal of the soul is an act of deliberate transformation, a sacred journey where we transcend the illusions of the world and awaken to the eternal truth within. The process begins with a realization, a gentle but profound whisper that reminds us of our divine origin. This realization stirs within us a longing to return to the source, to reconnect with the infinite presence that created and sustains us. The understanding is a natural response to a creation and sustains us. It is not an escape from the world, but an embrace of the truth that lies beyond its surface. The renewal is not given from without. It arises from within as we align ourselves with the divine. To renew the soul is to renew the mind, for the mind serves as the gateway through which the soul expresses itself. What we hold in thought, we embody in experience. Thus, the transformation of the soul requires the transformation of thought. We must cast away the patterns of fear, doubt, and limitation that bind us to the temporal, and replace them with thoughts of love, trust, and possibility. Each moment we choose to think in alignment with divine truth, we weave the fabric of a renewed existence. This shift is not an act of force, but of surrender, a yielding to the higher wisdom that knows the way. The act of surrender is often misunderstood, for it is not a resignation to passivity, but a courageous step into the unknown. When we surrender, we do not relinquish our power. We align it with the infinite power of God. It is in this alignment that the true renewal begins. To surrender is to release our attachment to outcomes and trust in the divine orchestration of our lives. It is to know with unwavering faith that all things are working together for our highest good. In this surrender, we are freed from the burdens of worry and fear, and we open ourselves to the miraculous. This renewal calls us to see the world through the eyes of the divine. The circumstances that once seemed insurmountable are revealed as stepping stones to greater understanding. The people who challenge us become our greatest teachers, and the trials we face transform into opportunities for growth. To renew the soul is to shift our perspective from the finite to the infinite, from the temporal to the eternal. It is to see not with the eyes of the body, but with the eyes of the spirit, which perceive the perfection underlying all things. As the renewal unfolds, we are invited to embrace gratitude, not as a fleeting emotion, but as a state of being. Gratitude is the language of the soul, the acknowledgement of the abundance that already exists. It is the recognition that every breath, every moment is a gift. In gratitude, we align ourselves with the flow of divine grace, and we open our hearts to receive even more. The act of giving thanks, even in the midst of challenges, is a powerful affirmation of faith. It declares that we trust in the goodness of God, and that we see his hand in every aspect of our lives, as hence it becomes us to trust in God. This transformation of the soul is not a solitary journey, for we are never truly alone. The divine presence dwells within us, guiding and supporting us every step of the way. As we deepen our connection with this presence, we come to understand that the renewal of our soul is part of a greater renewal, the renewal of the world itself. Each thought we think, each action we take in alignment with divine truth contributes to the healing of the collective. We are not separate from the whole, but integral to its unfolding. To renew the soul is to embrace the truth of who we are, divine beings having a human experience. It is to remember that we are created in the image of the infinite and that our potential is limitless. This remembrance empowers us to live with purpose, to love without condition, and to create without fear. It is a return to the essence of our being, a reclaiming of the divine inheritance that has always been ours. As we walk this path of renewal, we discover that the journey itself is the destination. There is no final point of arrival, for the renewal is a continuous process, an eternal unfolding. With each step, we are drawn closer to the heart of the divine, and our lives become a reflection of its love and light. The renewal of the soul is not a task to be completed, but a way of being to be embraced. It is a dance with the infinite, a celebration of the sacred within and around us. Through this renewal, we come to see that the challenges of life are not obstacles but opportunities. They are invitations to grow, to expand, to become more fully who we are meant to be. In the face of adversity, we draw strength from the divine, and we rise above the limitations of the world. The renewal of the soul equips us to navigate life with grace and resilience, to face each moment with courage and compassion. And so, the renewal of the soul is not an end but a beginning that is ever present, ever new. It is the awakening to a truth that has always been, the realization of a love that is unchanging and eternal. In this renewal, we find our strength, our purpose, and our peace. It is the journey of a lifetime, a journey that transforms not only our lives, but the world around us. Through this renewal, we become vessels of the divine, channels through which its light flows into the world. The renewal of our soul begins with the understanding that within us lies a wellspring of infinite power. This power is not something external to be sought, but a truth waiting to be realized. The very act of acknowledging this divine presence within begins to transform the way we perceive ourselves and the world around us. This transformation is not instantaneous, for it requires a deep and abiding faith, a willingness to trust in the unseen. It is in this trust that we lay the foundation for renewal. When we accept that all things are possible through the divine, we cease to rely solely on our limited human understanding and begin to draw from the infinite source of wisdom and strength. To live in alignment with this truth is to make a deliberate choice, one that requires persistence and devotion. It is not enough to acknowledge the divine within. We must cultivate it daily, allowing it to permeate every aspect of our lives. This cultivation begins with the thoughts we entertain. Every thought is a seed, and what we plant in the fertile soil of our mind will inevitably bear fruit. To renew the soul, we must plant seeds of hope, love, and possibility, watering them with faith and nurturing them with gratitude. This deliberate practice transforms not only our inner world, but also our outer reality, for the world we experience is but a reflection of the state of our soul. As we move deeper into this process, we begin to recognize the patterns of thought and behavior that no longer serve us. These patterns are like shadows, illusions born of fear and doubt, clinging to the edges of our consciousness. To renew the soul, we must release these shadows, letting go of the limitations we have placed upon ourselves. This release is not always easy, for it requires us to confront the parts of ourselves we have long ignored or denied. Yet, in this confrontation lies the key to our liberation. By bringing these shadows into the light of awareness, we dissolve their power over us, creating space for the divine to fill us with its infinite love and wisdom. Dalmatian is this journey of renewal calls for a steadfast focus, a commitment to see beyond appearances and hold to the vision of what is possible. The circumstances of life may challenge us, testing our resolve and faith, but these challenges are not barriers, they are stepping stones. Each difficulty we face is an opportunity to reaffirm our connection to the divine, to draw from its inexhaustible strength. It is through these tests that we grow, expanding our capacity for love, resilience, and understanding. The renewal of the soul is not a passive process, but an active engagement with life, a constant alignment with the truth of who we are, and itself unceasing. From this, you ignite your life. In this alignment, we find the courage to dream boldly, to envision a life that reflects the boundless nature of the divine. These dreams are not mere fantasies. They are glimpses of what is possible when we fully embody the truth of our being. To dream is to commune with the divine, to open ourselves to the infinite potential that lies within. The act of dreaming, when coupled with faith and action, becomes a powerful force for transformation. It is through our dreams that we express our divine essence, shaping a reality that aligns with our highest vision. As we walk this path, we come to understand that renewal is not a solitary endeavor, but a collective awakening. Each time we align ourselves with the divine, we contribute to the renewal of the world itself. The love, peace, and strength we cultivate within radiate outward, touching the lives of those around us. This ripple effect reminds us that we are not separate, but interconnected, part of a greater whole. Through the renewal of our soul, we become vessels of the divine, instruments through which its light flows into the world. That is what purification is, merely the preparation of the physical body for sacred use in a purified world. In this state of renewal, we are no longer bound by the limitations of the past or the fears of the future. We live fully in the present moment, embracing each experience as a gift. This presence allows us to see the beauty and perfection in all things, to recognize the hand of the divine in every aspect of our lives. It is in this presence that we find true peace, a peace that surpasses all understanding and anchors us in the eternal truth of who we are. The renewal of the soul is not a destination, but an ongoing journey, a dance with the divine that continues to unfold in infinite ways. It is a journey that requires faith, patience, and perseverance, but one that rewards us with a life of meaning, purpose, and joy. Through this journey, we come to know the depth of our own divinity, the boundless nature of the love that created us, and the infinite possibilities that await us. In this renewal, we find our true strength, our eternal light, and our ultimate freedom. The renewal of the soul, at its core, is the awakening to the truth of our oneness with the divine. This realization is not a mere intellectual exercise, but a profound transformation that arises from within. It begins with the understanding that the divine is not separate from us, not an entity we must seek outside ourselves, but the very essence of our being. To awaken to this truth is to see life through a new lens, one that is illumined by love, power, and infinite potential. In this awakening, we realize that every experience, whether joyful or challenging, is a reflection of our internal state. The outer world mirrors the inner, and to change one's life, one must begin with the self. The thoughts we think, the emotions we harbor, and the beliefs we hold all contribute to the reality we experience. Therefore, the renewal of the soul calls us to take radical responsibility for our inner world. It asks us to examine the narratives we have built, the stories we tell ourselves about who we are and what we deserve. These stories are the foundation of our reality, and if they do not align with the truth of our divinity, they must be rewritten. This rewriting is not a process of struggle, but one of surrender. To renew the soul, we must let go of the need to control and allow the divine to guide us. This surrender is an act of trust, a recognition that the infinite wisdom of the divine knows the path better than our limited understanding ever could. In letting go, we create space for the miraculous to unfold. List by list, This surrender becomes more and more apparent, and the more we release our attachments to fear and doubt, the more we align with the divine flow. And in this alignment, we find peace. This peace is not passive, but dynamic, a vibrant stillness that empowers us to live fully and authentically. It is from this place of peace that we can begin to create anew. The renewal of the soul is not about escaping the world, but transforming it. It is about bringing the light of the divine into every aspect of our lives, infusing our thoughts, words, and actions with its infinite love. This light is not something we must strive to attain. It is already within us, waiting to be recognized and expressed. It is the light which transports us from the pit of despair to the refuge of love. As we express this light, we find that life begins to shift in profound ways. Doors that once seemed closed begin to open, opportunities appear where there were none, and challenges transform into stepping stones. This is not magic, but the natural outcome of living in alignment with the divine. When we embody the truth of our oneness with the divine, the world responds, for the outer always responds for the inner. This is the line that always responds into different levels. This alignment is the key to manifesting our desires, for it is through the divine within that all things are made possible. Before we examine this alignment, this process of renewal is not without its tests. Life will often challenge us to reaffirm our faith, to hold to the vision of what is possible, even when circumstances suggest otherwise. These challenges are not punishments, but opportunities to deepen our trust in the divine. Each test we face is a chance to let go of the old and step into the new. It is in these moments of challenge that the renewal of the soul becomes most powerful, for it is here that we truly learn to rely on the divine. To rely on the divine is to recognize that we are never alone. The divine presence is always with us, guiding, supporting, and loving us unconditionally. This realization is a source of immense strength, for it reminds us that no matter what we face, we have the power of the infinite within us. This power is not something we must earn. It is our birthright, the very essence of who we are. To renew the soul is to claim this power, to stand in the truth of our divinity, and to live from this truth in every moment. And listen to this word. In this living, we discover the joy that comes from being fully present. The renewal of the soul brings us into the now, where we can experience the beauty and perfection of life as it is. This presence allows us to appreciate the simple moments, to find gratitude in the ordinary, and to see the extraordinary in the everyday. It is in this gratitude that we deepen our connection to the divine, for gratitude is the language of the soul. When we live in gratitude, we open ourselves to receive even more of the divine's blessings, and even more of the divine's inspiration. The Father then pronounces our life and hands his kingdom willingly onto us. The proverb says, "The more our fate is in gratitude, the renewal of the soul is a journey of becoming, a continual unfolding of the divine within us. It is not a destination to be reached, but a way of being, a state of alignment with the infinite. As we walk this path, we transform not only our lives, but also the lives of those around us. The light we cultivate within radiates outward, touching the world in ways we may never fully understand. This is the power of the renewed soul, a power that is rooted in love, sustained by infinite possibilities of the divine.